Have you ever wondered if you could print 3D objects using a regular MIG welder? I certainly am, so let's go ahead and take a look. I purchased the printer on Marketplace. It only cost $50 and it arrived disassembled in a box. While assembling, I removed the heated mat and all unnecessary plastic parts because sparks will fly and they wouldn't do these plastics any good. I left all the mechanical parts of the printer as they were. I also disassembled the power supply located at the bottom of the printer to prevent sparks from flying onto it. I had to replace the heated mat with something that was able to withstand much higher temperatures, so I chose a non-flammable fiber cement board. The printer will be managed by Clipper, which will be installed on a standard board for 3D printers. The control will be handled using a Raspberry Pi running the Mainsail web interface. I'll connect the 24-volt power supply to the board. And I'll also put the stepper motor drivers into the board. To every controller, I will connect a stepper motor. The Z-axis has 2 motors. And I will also connect the limit switches of the individual axes. I have configured the board, and now I need to verify if the offset entered in the interface corresponds to the actual axis displacement. I will perform verification for all 3 axes. And I will also check if the pad is aligned with the Z-axis. The X-axis carriage is fastened securely by 3 screws, but one of them is positioned incorrectly and its nut is interfering with the welding torch, so I'll simply rotate it and the entire issue will be resolved. I printed some fixtures on my 3D printer, which I'll use to firmly secure the welding torch. The burner is attached, but the carriage is now unable to get to the limit switch. Right, now I finally understand why that one screw is turned, but I can't turn it back to its original position. It would simply get in the way too much, so I'll have to solve this problem again with 3D printing. I will handle the control of the welding machine with a servo that I will mount on the torch. For making the holder, I will again use a 3D printer. I will connect the servo to the printer's control board and then configure it. And perhaps the very last thing, the adjustment of the limit switch on the Z-axis. I am placing a metal plate onto the mat, without which this printing method simply cannot function, and then I'm going to try it out. First, I'll try printing a prism. I'll turn on the gas and set the welder to 70 amps. I've burned right through the sheet metal, so 70 amps is definitely too much power. I'll have to try 50. That's already looking better, so I'll leave it at 50 and try to print the entire thing. The individual layers aren't cooling down properly, and this will result in them spreading. While the mat is non-flammable, it's probably not designed to be heat resistant. Therefore, I'll raise the baking sheet so it doesn't make contact with the mat and burn through it. Between each layer, I let the material cool for 20 seconds. At this point, it finally resembles a layered structure, so the initial layer will be set to 50 amps. And before the 20 seconds are up, I'm going to set 65 amps. Yes, that's already looking a little better. So I'll try changing the amperage several more times. So that's 80 amperes. For the third and any subsequent layers, it's too much. I will try to print a simpler object. So now it seems to me that after the first layer it will want to add a lot of amperes. 80 amps was too much for the first object, but now I'm already operating at 120. And even then, it's still too little. It's not the most beautiful, but it resembles the form. And now I will print the most famous object in the world of 3D printing. Oh crap, this will require a very specific setup again. The temperature was so high that even the piles in the plastic was starting to melt. This is already looking much better. Perhaps if we had a slightly wider sheet, the front wouldn't look quite so awful. Now I'll try printing a calibration cube. And as a last one, I'll try the pyramid. So let's take a look at the best pieces. The boat probably turned out the least successful, but at the same time it was also the most difficult. The pyramids are too round. If I printed the hollow pyramid on thicker metal, it might be better. Here I noticed that the side letters X and Y can also be seen. I gave it a really good try. Maybe it could be fine-tuned for better results, but it would take an awful lot of time and also gas. Even though the pad was about 2 centimeters from the print, it still suffered. What do you think? Is it worth improving this project further? If you're interested or have an idea on how to move it forward, write it to me in the comments. And what would you try to print with such a welding 3D printer?